Hey, by request, we are starting a brand new channel. This episode is the beginning of a brand new general horror channel, and we'll tell you more about that soon. But to kick it off, we're going to add a few videos right here each month and see how they're received. Eventually, everything that's not Jeepers will move over to the new channel. In the meantime, enjoy. All right, lights. Got it? Camera.
Rolling.
All right, let's bring the lighting down to begin with. Lighting down. Audio ready? Cue audio. Background. And action.
1, 2, Freddy's coming for you.
Freddy Krueger was conceived of things that go bump in the night.
3, 4, better lock your door.
He didn't have a chance to become anything other than a sinister killer.
5, 6, grab your crucifix.
And there wasn't anything anyone could do to change his future of evil.
7, 8, gonna stay up late.
Because what was inside of him would demand a hunger for power and fear.
9, 10, never sleep again.
And he would kill because he had always killed. But there's long been a part of this puzzle that's missing. Grab some caffeine while we slice in a little deeper. Freddy Krueger wasn't just born. He was carved, created more than once. He was molded for a specific purpose and chosen for the perfect storm that would become his life. A small town recipe is exactly what was needed to incarnate something terrible. Amanda Krueger was a nun who was accidentally locked inside an asylum all alone. She was used as a toy by over 100 patients sick with insanity, lust, and desires for self-fulfillment at any cost. She became infused with hatred because of the horror that befell her. A bastard baby formed out of mankind's iniquities was born. And so it was. But the new vessel wasn't ready for its purpose. It was only a child, raw material made for the rawest potential of cruelty. The tainted flesh needed to be molded, refined, and finished for its intended purpose. Freddy had to grow up in an excruciating environment of intense suffering, abuse, both physical and emotional, constant disappointments, and staggering pain. He would learn to hate everything good: love, joy, empathy, and respect. They were foreign. He didn't understand them, and he didn't want them. They were fictional family values that he would never have, so others shouldn't have them either. And all good things in life, as he imagined them, felt unfamiliar. They were imaginary luxuries of the enemy, his enemy, God. And as he grew bigger, his time grew near. Freddy matured and he became perfect for what would come, and many came. Demons of every kind flocked to the young vessel who welcomed them in. He was familiar with them and grew up under their attentive care. They found a home in the boy they had created. This weapon was one in which they boasted. When it was time, Freddy was unleashed on the earth in Springwood, Ohio. But there's a critical element to this story that isn't talked about. Do you know what it is? For now, let's take a walk with Freddy. It's calculated that Freddy killed almost 80 people. Most of them were under 18. How did a human inflict such evil on other humans? And how's it possible when most of the victims were still in such innocence? Children. Evil loves innocence. There came a moment, a point in time, when Freddy Krueger snapped. He made his plan, and he sculpted a weapon that was perfect for its intended purpose. And it felt so good as he slid it down onto his hand. Freddy was living with an agonizing discomfort. It was killing him to spare others. But he refused to live with it any longer. He used and destroyed at least 20 young lives before he was caught. And those are the ones we know about. There may have been many more. They say killers don't think they'll ever get caught. But Freddy knew he would, and he was looking forward to it. After all, a peaceful, comfortable life is the last thing he wanted. He desired pain. He craved what was familiar. Everything inside of him, every last one of them, made sure he craved it. Surely there's no cure for those who are inflicted and love the sickness. Freddy got his wish. He found himself in custody.
Loved you killed your mother. I tried so hard to be good.
We all know the story. The evidence against him was overwhelming. There's no question who perpetrated the unthinkable and who should stand trial for the sickness that infested Springwood. But the formalities of the case were tainted. An incompetent judge had incorrectly signed a search warrant. A technicality released a cancer back upon a town it had cursed, but not for long. The families of the victims came together and formulated a plan. They burned Freddy alive and delivered justice, or so they thought. Locals received gratification by destroying the object of their hatred, the object that had destroyed so many of them and their loved ones. And for some years it was over. The battered community tended its wounds. But the real story was just beginning. Freddy's death was his second birth. Dream demons joined forces with those existing and presented Freddy with a new path forward. Freddy Krueger was ready to return, but not in a physical form. He would attack in the dreams of his targets. He had gained a unique collection of evil with special superpowers. Freddy would attack people while they slept. He was strong, making it possible to potentially kill his targets. And he used the fear of his victims to propel a new supernatural method of destruction. What's more, who better to unleash this weapon on than the families of those who tried to destroy one of the most effective tools for evil ever? Lingering trauma in town would feed blackness the fuel it needed to develop this new malevolent machine. But there was still one very important part of the Freddy puzzle missing. Before we get to that, we need to address a problematic question. How does the dream world become tangible? Young Nancy Thompson wasn't your average high school student. She was a fighter. She faced things. It was her nature and her gift, according to her mother, Marge. And it was a good thing for the town of Springwood. Nancy's father was also a warrior, but his mind was closed off to the supernatural, and he was unwilling to listen to his daughter, especially when she needed him the most. Nancy, on the other hand, didn't have any preconceived notions about how things should be. She was young and saw events as they were. She quickly discovered what Freddy's weakness was, and she exploited it. It all started with a hat. Nancy was in the middle of a sleep study and fighting for her life, all arranged by her mother. When she awoke, she discovered she had some new gray hair, a nasty wound on her arm, and Freddy's hat. But how? It's understandable that a pack of demons might injure a human physically, but how could an object from a dream become physical? How could Nancy pull Freddy's hat out of her dream? And this begs other questions. How many could she pull into her reality? She had possession of Freddy's hat, but he still had it in her next dream. We suspect this was a movie mistake, because in the very next frame he didn't have it. But we saw it. Could she pull another one into reality? Could she collect them? What about Freddy's glove? Marge had it tucked away safely in the Thompson basement, yet Freddy wasn't without it in Nancy's dream. If she successfully pulled Freddy's glove into the physical world, would she have 2? Or 4? Or would Freddy be without it? But the question still remains, how could Nancy pull things from her dreams into the physical world? The dreams of Freddy's victims must have acted as a gateway or a portal between the natural and the supernatural. And good thing, because it was discovered to be one of Freddy's only weaknesses. When he was pulled into the physical world, he was vulnerable to physical attacks and could potentially be destroyed. Or could he? If a human body was possessed by demons and that human was destroyed, would the demons be destroyed with it? I think not. If Nancy was in possession of Freddy's hat, yet he still had it, does that mean if he was pulled into reality and killed, that he would still exist in the dreams of his victims? These are more than questions. They point to a shocking reality and a dangerous future. Just evaluating the facts on the surface, Freddy is much more difficult to permanently destroy than we were told. But that still doesn't address the most interesting question. How did it all start? Yes, the history's clear, and we know how Freddy came to be, but there's something critical missing, and it's an open invitation for an interesting theory. When the townspeople gathered and brought an end to Freddy Krueger, the sun once again began to shine in Springwood. But it wouldn't shine for long. Evil was gone for a few years, and then it returned. We don't know exactly how long Freddy was gone, but his return wasn't immediate. So what happened to provoke Freddy's return? Why was Freddy gone for a certain amount of time, and then back in a dream. If it was Freddy's choice, he would have returned immediately to wreak havoc on Springwood. So it wasn't Freddy's choice. Whose choice was it? Dream demons wouldn't find any value in waiting to torture and kill. Someone must have wanted Freddy to return. Did you ever think about that? We learned that fear and memories of Freddy can bring him back, but fear and memories of him would have lingered immediately after he was killed. Evil almost always requires an invitation of some kind. So what invited a nightmare to return? Was there someone who wanted Freddy back? After all, he had a face that only a mother could love. But his mother wasn't living. After Freddy's trial, Amanda had suffered too much, and she made the decision to take herself out of the game. His biological father was insane, and after years of abusive behavior, his stepfather became his first victim when Freddy was still a teenager. Who was left that wanted Freddy back? Couldn't have been his wife Loretta. Freddy took care of her when she found his secret room. And it couldn't have been his only surviving daughter, Catherine. She was only 6 when they were separated, and she received a new life and a new future with the Burnham family. What happened right before Freddy's return? Something happened. An event triggered by a single human action. Alright, let me ask you, who was it that was most closely tied to Freddy Krueger? Marge Thompson, Nancy's alcoholic mother, was clearly someone with a secret.
Fred Krueger can't come after you, Nancy. He's dead. Believe me, I know.
You knew about him all this time? And you've been acting like it was something I made up?
Now, this theory doesn't need to outline exactly what happened, but as we do, we listen for the story that the evidence tells. Let's look at the strange facts surrounding Marge Thompson. Freddy's return wasn't immediate. That means something initiated his return. Upon Freddy's return, his focus was on those centered around the Thompson family. As a matter of fact, Nancy might have had a little sister who died very young, and it's rumored that she was Freddy's first dream victim. Marge Thompson was reluctant to tell Nancy about Freddy, even though she knew exactly who her daughter was dreaming about. Marge even initiated a sleep study for her daughter. Curious. Not only that, Marge was still in possession of Freddy's custom blades, the locally famous knife glove, and she knew right where it was. Why? Why would she still have the murder weapon of a psychopath who took 20 young lives right in her hometown? Morbid, even for the most hardened enthusiast. While she was sleeping, Nancy pulled Freddy's hat into reality. This was phenomenal, and a clear indication of supernatural happenings. Yet her mother hid it and didn't check into it as Nancy had hoped. Why? Because she knew it was real. And who was Marge talking to on the phone about Freddy's hat? Who did she tell that Nancy had pulled Freddy's hat into reality? Someone else was in on this secret with Nancy's mom. But who? Why did Marge install bars on all of her windows and doors? She knew the hat was real, and she knew the threat was real. And what's more, she told her very own daughter that she faced things, that it was her nature and her gift, but that sometimes she had to turn away. Strange advice from a normal mom, don't you think? And Marge was one of the few adults to be waxed by Freddy. Think about that. Unlike the kids that Freddy was used to victimizing, the adults were taken for calculated purposes. We believe on one of her alcohol-induced one-night stands that Marge and another dabbled with something they shouldn't have. They had some fun with an old glove that allowed a powerful supernatural evil to revisit Springwood. And if Marge was responsible for Freddy's return, she might have been one of the only people who could stop him. That may be why Freddy chose to erase her. But there was another. Who do you suspect Marge was with when she brought Freddy back? Is there another adult who was taken about the same time?
I need you, Jesse. We got special work to do here, you and me.
In Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy orchestrated the demise of Coach Schneider. He wanted Jesse to kill for him. Why? Maybe it was Coach Schneider who was just as curious about an old glove as Marge was. Maybe they sat together, drank, and conjured something they should have left alone. And just maybe, when things started to heat up, he was the one person who Marge called to tell about the hat, while she hid it from the rest. As we always do, we're going to turn this over to you. What do you think? Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this episode, then get ready to subscribe to a brand new channel, and we'll tell you all about that soon. Sweet dreams. Until next time, we'll see you.